All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the February 5th MakerDAO community call. This community call, we go over all things in the MakerDAO universe that have been happening over the last week. And we have had a pretty eventful week, actually. So my name is David. I'm the community development lead here, and I work with Rich as part of the core community development group. And we put on these calls every week, along with a risk and governance call that we hold on Thursdays. So definitely tune into that as well. I'll add some links to that towards the end of the call. But during these calls, we usually go through events, new hires, partnerships, community mentions. Sometimes we'll have a guest, some Q&A, all that usual stuff. Today, we got a handful of people, but really, these meetings are for the people that listen in after the call actually airs live. I know that we post these up on YouTube, and I think we even post them up on SoundCloud. Or no, I think that we actually only do the risk and governance on SoundCloud, but that might change soon. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually give it over to Lenka to talk about some of the events that she's been going to and that are coming up in her world. So Lenka is our community manager out, I think she's based in Copenhagen, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's right. So Lenka, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you in the meeting. Yeah, I try to summarize what has happened and what we're looking forward to when it comes to events with special focus for Europe, but also beyond. So last week I was in Berlin, actually attending different meetups focusing on DAO's governance Web3. In any way, the theme was building stronger ecosystems. So I was in Arakan. I was super happy to meet in person Kenny Rao, who was actually part of the MakerDAO team. He was in the panel on governing in decentralized organizations, so that was really exciting. Then besides Aracon, I don't want to go into depth, but I just want to give you some high-level info. There have been also interesting events discussing governance, open governance, building the open web, etc. A lot of Web3 talks. Also, Witnet, which is a decentralized Oracle project, has launched on testnet, so I also joined for their party. And Girlycon, which is basically, this was kind of a Berlin blockchain week. And ETH Berlin happened in September last year, and it was like an idea that came up at that event, and they actually pulled it through that actually they launched the Girly testnet and made a little conference on one day. We also had, this was on Thursday. Yes, and we also had Mariano Conti speaking, but he wasn't able to make it in person, so he was actually streamed, and he was basically speaking about the funding in the open source space. I think around the time of his talk, we reached 2 million ETH locked, correct? I'm not sure about the number, but anyway, we had some milestones at the time of speaking, and also he announced that, for instance, our oracles in MCD will be running on Girly testnet, for instance. So that was really exciting. A lot of planning done, planning of different events. And when I speak about the events that we are going forward, there will be an event in Zug. It's the Melonport Conference M1. It will be on the 7th to 8th February. We'll have a bunch of people from Maker joining. There will be a panel, Battle of Stablecoins. Well, Rune will be sitting. Actually, it's going to be fireside chat because only the two brave appeared. So it's going to be interesting discussion where Rune will be on behalf of Maker together with I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name, Joao Reginato, Director of Product Management at USDC. So that's exciting. And Martin Lundfall from our formal verification team, he'll be in a panel together with Matthew, different discuss from ZK Labs, discussing how to secure the future of finance. Besides them, Gustav and Jacek will be there. So if you're in Zug, feel free to reach out. Besides that, there will be a side event organized by Crypto Wally in Zug on the 8th, Future of Tokens, and Rune will be in the panel there as well. Following, we'll have some London activity. There'll be a London Blockchain Week from 8th to 14th. We'll have Greg and Gustav there. So if you're in London for the event, please let us know. There will be a panel on the 13th, organized by Consensus in London, and Gustav will be in there. I don't have the details yet. And then we move to US because we have ETH Denver happening, and I just want to say that we have a meetup organized for the afternoon in the pre-day of ETH Denver kicks off. That's on the 14th. And we'll be doing this together with Abe. And we really hope that if there are any hackers there, that they will join us for this, because it will be a good go through the different tools we offer and the possible applications for this, so like inspiration. We'll have a lot of talks, panels, and workshops at the ETH Denver itself. Andy, Sean, Ashley, Ethan, Mariana, Conti, maybe I forgot someone. And after we're planning a Depi hour. So for now, it's the 17th, it's the last day, and it's after 10 p.m. when the after party for ETH Denver is over. So that's exciting. And one more thing I wanted to add is that ECC happening in Paris from 5th to 7th March. We just did a little campaign or promo together with Kyber Network. So Kyber Network has provided a widget for ECC's website. So that means that now you can pay for the tickets with crypto and Dai, of course, as well. And the first 100 people to buy with crypto will get 10% off their ticket, and we cover it, Maker and Kyber. So I'll post a tweet for you, so you can just follow it. So if you're planning to go to ECC and want to get a ticket, why not to pay with crypto and get the discount? Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Lenka.
That's my flow.
Thank you. Damn, it sounds like a lot of stuff is going on, huh? I'm really excited for ETH Denver, especially for that Dappy hour. It's going to be a really great after party.
Just a quick question. So for all those events that you just mentioned, are there any links for those who can attend that might be able to watch it streaming once?
Yes, if there's a way to stream, I'll be always happy to, make sure we have it on Twitter or wherever. But I can post the links now here, but just so we don't lose them, I'll try to, make sure that there's a promo if there's streams, that we make sure that the stream link is shared as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Do we have a public maker events type of schedule or anything like that?
We have a page on the website, but I constantly need to push for getting it updated, and not every single thing goes there, so it's just not crazy overwhelming. So I'll see what I can do, but just reminded me to push those in.
Interesting. All right, we're gonna talk after the meeting because I have actually an idea about that. All right, cool. So Mariano, you're here. Do you want to take away what's going on in South America?
Yes. Thanks, David. We have we will be participating in an event in Mexico. It's a Freedom Forum organized by the Human Rights Foundation. We will be participating along with RTM, another company from Mexico that is providing web wallet services to Venezuela mostly. And we will talk about how crypto can provide, freedom to humanity, and also how crypto can help to escape, certain, let's say, governments and oppression and all the things that we know is happening right now in South America.
Nice, man. Nice.
And that's it. And drinking mate.
Short and sweet. Yeah. Are you good? Are you all right? You're looking a little bit flustered and a little bit stressed. A lot of maker stuff on your mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now in South America, but yet we cannot yet tell you guys.
It's also very hot.
Yeah, right? I was gonna ask. It's still the hottest week in Buenos Aires right now.
40 degrees right now.
Jeez.
That's
40 Celsius.
Yeah, and
right.
yes, true. We are in Fahrenheit in some places.
Yeah. Oh, Lenka just posted in the chat the ETHCC campaign, a Twitter post about it. All right, so I'm gonna do Do. Do is our he's our community manager in Korea, in South Korea, and he is doing this thing called the MakerDAO Relayer. It's a Korean campaign. Well, campaign going on in Korea, basically looking for more projects to raise funds via Dai, and also looking for supporters that push it. So they only have 12 relayers at the moment, and yeah, that's all that he's doing. He was doing a bunch of events over the last couple of months, but I believe things have died down a little bit, and he is mainly focusing on this campaign right now, besides all the other stuff he's focusing on. But all right, I believe that's all for events. I'm going to go into some of the technical milestones, notables, partnerships, that kind of stuff. So actually, a bunch of really cool things happened. So after, I think it was 10 months since the launch of single collateral Dai, we finally hit 1 million Ether locked in CDPs system wide, right? And it only took about 2.5 months more to reach the 2 million ETH milestone, which we hit, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. So that is a pretty cool milestone. We're right at about like 1.8% of the total supply of ETH locked in MakerDAO. Yeah, Nick is suggesting that somebody make an auger market for when we hit 3 million ETH, which, you know, that's actually, I would bet on that. Maybe not. I don't know how legal betting online is in New York, but anyway, so we had a MakerDAO blog post introducing the MakerDAO ecosystem growth group, I believe it is, MEG, and it talked a little bit about the restructuring that the Maker Foundation did as an organization. So if you don't know kind of the dynamic of MakerDAO yet, MakerDAO itself is the community, the stakeholders. It's like the group of all the people that are interested in MakerDAO as a decentralized platform. So nobody in the foundation specifically controls MakerDAO. MakerDAO is controlled fully by the votes of MKR holders, but the Maker Foundation is there to bootstrap and kind of ensure the development and the possible longevity of the MakerDAO platform. So the Maker Foundation has been instrumental from day one. But as you guys know, if you've been an active part of our community, the plan is to gradually decentralize. So eventually, MakerDAO, the Maker Foundation is going to sort of wind down as the decentralized governance and community winds up. So that's what you're going to be seeing over the next few years. And part of that transition, and also just part of the fact that the foundation and MakerDAO is a lot more in the public eye now than ever before. The foundation is just cleaning up and trying to make things a lot more streamlined and clear, both to regulators and to the public, about what they're doing in their corporate structure. So that blog post was really, really great if you're interested in that. I'm actually going to post it in the chat. Give me just a sec. Yeah, so definitely check that out. Next, we have Rune. He's on Laura Shin's Unchained podcast. So the part 1 came out a few days ago, and part 2 actually came out this morning. So listen in. Part 1, they talked a lot about basically, I can't really remember. Damn, I listened to podcasts and they flow in one ear and out the other ear. But today I listened to the podcast. And they talked about a lot about how multi-collateral Dai is going to work. A lot about a bit about oracles, but about everything. But definitely check it out. Between the 2 episodes, they cover quite a lot. So it's really, really great. And it's actually the 3rd time that Rune's been on the Unchained podcast. The first time was maybe a year and a half ago, and he came on to talk about stablecoins generally. But these 2 episodes were MakerDAO specific. So definitely check those out. In other news, we had on the 31st of January, the Oasis front end's taken down, and ETH2Dai is now live. So for those of you that don't know, Oasis Dex and Oasis.direct were the front ends were controlled and operated by the Maker Foundation, and they made the decision to basically take down Oasis in the meantime because it's being rebuilt to be what's the right way to put it? To be basically integrated with future securities tokens offerings. Yeah, exactly. Nick's saying it in the chat, a securities exchange. So it's not only going to transact in tokens that aren't necessarily securities like Ether or Dai, but it's meant to be an exchange where people can find liquidity for the stuff that's on MakerDAO in the future. And this is a process that's going to take probably a few months. But it's a really cool step in a really cool direction because multi-collateral Dai is not just going to have crypto assets, it's going to have real-world assets. And as we see the tokenization of real-world assets over the next year or 2 or 5 or 10, we're going to be in a prime position to take full advantage of that and see the world of decentralized finance and traditional finance kind of come together in interoperability, and we're really excited to see that, like really excited. But in the meantime, people still have access to ETH to Dai, which is mainly Ethereum and Dai liquidity. So check that out. And if you need Maker, just go to another decentralized exchange. Maker is offered by a ton of them. All right, so moving forward. So actually, MakerDAO and ETH Denver are partnering together to do a really special thing at ETH Denver this year. So Austin Griffith has been developing this thing called the Burner Wallet. So if you've been around the DeFi space, you've probably seen 1 or 2 of his Medium posts and might have even looked at the tutorial video of the Burner Wallet. And it's really, really cool. It's basically a way to transact in cryptocurrency without needing an actual app or anything. You can just take your phone, and if your phone can scan QR codes, it literally pulls up a web page, and this web page is it's a burner wallet. It's exactly that. It's meant for fun money. You could load up your burner wallet from your cold wallet with like $50 worth of whatever you want, ETH, Dai. I prefer Dai, obviously, but you could load it up and you could use it on the fly. And once it's done, you can burn the key, or you could even export it and actually hold on to the control over that wallet. But that wallet is a hot wallet since your private key is kind of stored locally on your phone, I think in the cache. But it's really, really cool. And for ETH Denver, MakerDAO, and a ton of other people are basically sponsoring this this thing where everybody will be given Buffy Dai, which is going to be a local coin, a version of Dai, and all of the local vendors, not all of the local vendors, but a bunch of local vendors and people selling things at the event itself are going to be accepting Buff Dai. And actually, for our Dappy Hour, we also are going to be doing something. It's unclear whether we're going to be doing Buff Dai or X Dai, but stay tuned. But this is really, really freaking cool. All right, so moving forward, we also have, so this week, MakerDAO and WBTC. So WBTC had launched, I think, like this week, right? And MakerDAO tweeted our DAO, I think it was just the public, it was some string of thing, I can't really remember, but we are participating and partnering with WBTC in some regard. And actually on the call, I have Ashley Schapp, who's on our BD team, to talk a bit about that. So Ashley, are you there?
Yep. Hey guys, I'm here.
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. So tell me, what is our involvement with WBTC?
Yeah, so we're not like massively involved in the project. It's been kind of a joint effort, really, mostly Kyber and BitGo, and obviously, you know, there are several other partners that have also worked on it. But ours is just to be a member of the DAO. So all that really entails at this point is to essentially works is that you have what are called merchants, which are essentially people who are able to interact with the smart contract that we built with BitGo, see to it, is then able to create WBTC. So they have a relationship essentially with BitGo, and they're the ones that are that transfer from it being a Bitcoin asset to actually creating the WBTC asset. So all that members of the DAO do are kind of the main thing is that they are able to decide who those merchants are going to be and basically vote on adding new merchants. They can vote to remove merchants, behaves badly. So our role in this is really to be, I wouldn't say like a watchdog necessarily, but just to that the governance of this project is, going smoothly, and that it's operating in kind of as decentralized a way as possible. And basically, we also wanted to be involved in the project because at some point, I think we will go ahead and have WBTC likely be a collateral type once multi-collateral is coming out. So being involved in the project has helped us, stay close to the technology, and we'll also be able to be aware of, how the project is going and all those things as we consider it as a collateral type. So that's kind of really all of our involvement on that at this point. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
So besides our involvement in the DAO basically allows us to help decentralize that part of the process. Do we have veto power on people actually issuing the WBTC, or is it just BitGo that actually issues it? And then we, the people of the DAO, have kind of veto power over who the merchants who have access to that are. Can you just clarify that? Because I kind of missed it a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, we can't alone veto anyone being able to become a merchant, but what the DAO controls is basically the ability to mint WBTC. And so because that's why we wanted to be involved with it, a process that's being used in the wrong way, or that no fake BTC are being created, no fake WBTC are created. You can't veto any specific transactions or anything like that. But what really the only role that we have in the DAO is to basically just ensure that, that the actors that are creating things, WBTC, are behaving appropriately.
Akiva asked a question in the chat. I'll read it out. Is the debt ceiling of WBTC a function of WBTC liquidity or BTC liquidity, or both?
It'll definitely be a ceiling put in place yet for it. The risk team hasn't even really started to dig into it yet, but it will definitely be a function of the liquidity of WBTC, because you kind of have to think of that as a separate asset. So part of what we'll be doing, the actual viability of having WBTC as a collateral type, is taking a close look at what is the actual liquidity. Kyber is going to launch support. I think they might have already done launch support for WBTC on their exchange, and we're hoping that some other exchanges will pick it up as well. And if there's good liquidity, that will obviously make it easier for us to have a higher debt ceiling or lower interest rate, or any of the kind of levers that we have around risk.
Do you personally have any concerns of using it as a collateral, even though there's that centralized custody and that kind of risk involved?
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate concern, which is why we wanted to be involved and kind of start to actually get a sense of how this project is running, and is it obviously there's a centralization issue with BitGo. And that's, a point of failure, so to speak. But, the project as possible as we're evaluating it. And ultimately, if we don't feel comfortable that there is, that risk is mitigated after spending a few months in the DAO, then we would probably still allow it on as a collateral type, but with just a very low debt ceiling, so that it kind of minimizes risk to maker holders.
Right, exactly. So it's always going to be factored into that, as objective as possible risk assessment of that collateral. Yeah, totally. Thanks. If anybody has any other questions, definitely feel free to put it up in the chat. I'll be happy to read it, or you could say your question out loud if you have a mic. But otherwise, I'm gonna move forward. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you coming on the call to talk a bit about that.
Sure, no problem.
All right, so moving forward. All right, so we have some stuff, highlights from the community. So this month, actually a couple of days ago, I had posted up the first post of the Community Mentions of the Month series that we're going to be doing on Reddit. So what this is, we originally envisioned it as, we give some platinum to basically our favorite discussion or tool or post for the month of January. We announce it, and then the community gets to basically choose the second who gets, this magic internet medal. But it's really cool. It gives you Reddit ad-free for a month, gives you access to like the Reddit lounge, and it's just a way to show appreciation for our community members that put in like some good thoughts and participate in discussions, and it's just a way for us to kind of thank the community. And this month there are a ton of posts, and I couldn't decide which one to give platinum to. So what me and Rich actually decided to do was to just give platinum to kind of everybody. So we gave out, I think, maybe 8 or 9 platinums to a bunch of different people. And we definitely want to make this a thing monthly going forward. So if you're active on Reddit, definitely comment on that post. I think it's stickied right now, and it will be stickied, I think, over the course of the next week. But the first Monday of every month, I'll be putting up a similar post to that. And it's just a thing that we're trying. And yeah, if anybody has any feedback on it, definitely hit me up. But that is one thing that's going on in our community. But besides that, we have a couple of things. So InstaDApp added looping CDP functionality. So I remember last week, one of our community members made like this tool called Liquid Long, and it basically allowed you to create a CDP upfront in one transaction with your leverage sort of predefined. So if you wanted to get like 2 or 3x, up to 3x leverage on your ETH, it would do all that. It would draw Dai. Well, I think it had some Dai reserves in the smart contract itself that it would use to buy the ETH up front and then just pay itself back when it issued your Dai. But it was like a really cool tool, and InstaDApp actually took that exact idea and they created this looping CDP functionality, which lets you specify your leverage beforehand, does all the steps in one transaction, and I believe it sources the ETH liquidity from Oasis. But that's pretty cool. We also had a Dai Pay project. It's an open source open source payment processor. So it's also just a project by one of our community members. Definitely check it out. I actually mentioned it on the Community Mentions of the Month Reddit post that I just talked about. There was also a really, really interesting article called Founding a Company with a Stablecoin Dai, and it was about a guy who was not able to open to incorporate his company through the banking system in Switzerland for whatever reason, and he ended up doing it completely with Dai with no bank account, and he was able to legally do it in Switzerland. So it was a cool little piece. It's literally a 5-minute read. Definitely check that out. I'll post a link to it as well. And lastly, we have Crypto Bobby, who posted a CDP tutorial, which is the latest CDP tutorial that I've seen. And it's pretty good. I watched it on 2 times fast forward just to make sure it was accurate. And he does a great job of explaining how the tool works. And definitely check it out if you are intimidated by the whole DApp and you want to kind of get a step-by-step introduction to how to use the CDP portal. And of course, like, I guess I could use this opportunity to just stress, as an individual, you should always, like, do your research, think about the risks you're taking. This is real value that you're controlling. That's your money, and basically mind your risk. But the CDP tool is really useful, and it's really great that anybody can have access to it at the moment, and you guys should definitely check out that tutorial. But moving forward, I think that's about it for our highlights from the community for this week specifically. So, Mariana, are you there? So you had posted last week in the active agenda about a burning question. So we have this kind of ongoing thing that we like to try to do. If there's like a burning question, maybe try to spark some discussion around it. So Mariana had put in a thought experiment. So like fast forward 5 years and Ethereum fails. Why do you think it would have failed? Yo, Mariano, are you there? I think Mariano disappeared. All right, we'll get to the burning question some other time.
I'm here. Sorry.
You're there? What do you think is he's crashed in front of an arrow.
Sorry, I was in mute.
Yeah, it's all good. So you heard the burning question though, right? Do you want to talk about it? If Ethereum fails in like 5 years, why do you think it will have failed?
Yeah, I saw like interesting answers about that. Was posted by Blaine Reddick on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think that mostly was related to how Ethereum fails. And I think that we need to see how sharding works, right? I think that mostly all of the fears are pointing to this sharding and proof of stake, and you are seeing right now like these discussions around price, in which all Ethereum community in the past tend to avoid price discussion, but we know that in proof of stake, price is equals to security.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if Ethereum may fail in the future, I think that it will be due to this like mixed thing between scalability and fail to have like a good value accrual through the Ethereum, right? Through the Ether.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you. What do you think, David?
So I mean, the technical challenge in getting like being the first to scalability, or like not even that, but Ethereum captured like a lot of the mind share around like the development community, and all of the like, especially DeFi, right? Like Ethereum captured a lot there, and I think that its development is definitely like I don't know if you saw that photo on Twitter of the roadmap, and it was like all colorful, and there was like 3,000 things on it. At least for me, like I'm not a super technical person, and looking at that, I'm thinking, man, like what if like one thing goes wrong, or like there's like some crazy bug, like with software, it generally like a bug on something like Ethereum, which is meant to be sort of like hardware in software mode, this thing can really, really backfire if it's done wrong. But that's, I don't know, as a non-technical person, it kind of like gets me a bit scared, but ultimately, if Ethereum doesn't work out, there's other chains, there's other projects. I don't think that blockchain technology in general is doomed, but I think there's considerable risk. And Akiva actually makes a great point too, that in theory, Ethereum invests less in business development than EOS and Cardano. And I think that's mostly because Ethereum, especially the Ethereum Foundation, like they really invest in like developers and grants of people developing around it. And I think that that's like sort of their indirect line to BizDev. But let me read some of the other stuff that's going on in the chat. And in the meantime, what do you think, Mariano? Yeah, Akiva's writing, what they should be doing is offering blockchain consulting and use the revenue from that to speed up development. I don't really have an idea about that, because I feel like how can you speed up development in like such a, I don't know. Yeah, that's what consensus is doing. Cypher is also right. So Cypher is in the chat. Question for later: does Maker have any plans to migrate some of the TX load off Ethereum to upcoming protocols like Cosmos or Polkadot, especially in terms of Dai TXs? Oh, all right. So that's a separate conversation. But Mariana, if you don't have any other thoughts, I'm down to kind of drop this question because I'm a bit out of my depth about this. So, all right. So the question that Cypherstar, I'll address it. Does Maker have any plans to migrate some of the transaction load off Ethereum to upcoming protocols like Cosmos or Polkadot? I think that I know that our team talks to Cosmos and the Polkadot people, and like generally speaking, I think that nothing is planned in the short term like that. But I know that we are going to be offloading TXs in one regard, and actually they're just going to be off-chain, and they're not going to be TXs, they're just going to be scuttlebutt. It's the way that the new oracles are going to be set up in multi-collateral Dai. But that is separate from your question. But the oracle system at least is going to be significantly less heavy because instead of having a transaction per price feed operator, you're going to have one transaction, you're going to have all of that happening off chain, and then you're going to have one transaction for when the medianizer is actually updated with those prices. So instead of like, if we have like 16 feeds right now, I think, instead of having 16 transactions, like in multi-collateral Dai, the system would always just have one. So it actually opens up the oracles to be like fully scalable. So you can have like 100 price operators if you really want. But yeah, but in regards to like actual Dai transactions, I'm not sure about that. But if you know about XDAI and the POA network and the burner wallet, those they have a bridge, an XDAI to Dai bridge, where you could use their chain to do like super fast transactions. They're almost instant. You could play around with it with the burner wallet. If you have like a phone and an iPad, you could just do 2 burner wallets and like play around with it a bit. But yeah, so I don't know about Cosmos or Polkadot specifically though. All right, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to ask them, but we pretty much covered everything. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining the call this week. Look forward to next week's call. Take care, everybody.